Hi there, this is Grooving G and welcome back to my channel. Firstly, I'd like to say Happy New Year's to all of you, and also to any of you who are wondering what's happened to my Renoise series. I will be continuing making lots of videos in Renoise. I'm actually just trying to double up this year and do both Renoise videos and Logic Pro videos. So with that in mind, today I've got a very fun video on making risers inside of Logic. Now you can always get a whole bunch of risers from sample packs, but the techniques I'm going to show you today are really handy for creating your own risers. You can obviously sell these in your own sample packs, but actually they give you so much variation and ability to kind of mangle the sounds to get what you want that they're way more useful than just putting in generic riser patches. And kind of the best thing, especially the more advanced versions I'm going to show you today, is that you can save them away as Apple loops and you can drag them in with all the processing and automation still on them and just keep reusing and manipulating the Apple loop. So it'll make more sense when I get into it, and we're going to start simple and work our way to kind of more and more advanced. It will help if you have some kind of mod wheel or MIDI controller in some of the later stages, but if you don't, it doesn't completely matter. I'll show you how you can get around that. We're going to start very basic with a snare roll. The snare roll is very simple. So I've just dragged this in. It's got two kind of snare hits there that I'm going to take, and I am going to jump to the next transient and chop that, and we're just going to kind of do on every 16th note of this. Yeah, on every 16th note we're just going to create a roll, and we're going to duplicate this out. So this is going 8 bars in length and very boring like that. But we can do this one where we could bounce this, and then we could actually just very simply just put a volume fade on. And I think as the volume fade is coming up, it's cool to kind of give it some filter kind of opening as well. So we're going to do that, and I'm just going to use channel EQ for this. One thing that's very useful is, so I'm pressing A to open up the automation window, which all of you know, but I also have this thing, it's under mix, and it's called auto select automation parameter in read mode. And what it will mean is anything you click, whilst you've got the automation window open, anything you click will show up. So I'm looking peak 4 frequency, peak 3 gain, peak 3 Q, and so anything I'm clicking, it's going to show up. And then I can very easily just create automation for the parameter that I want. Just select that and go up like this. This is actually a very long roll here. I feel like actually for snare rolls like this, it might be better to do it a little bit shorter. And let's try this, and I still can put this fade back in. So it's very loud, and then I might just take some of the very lows out. So a very simple snare roll to start with, and sounds a bit rubbish on its own, even in the context of the song. So it sounds a bit better in the context of the song. You can shape that a little bit more. I feel like maybe it actually had even too much high energy. That's a little bit better. Maybe a little bit too loud still. And okay, that's the first layer. So snare roll, nice and easy. Okay, so the second rise I want to show you is a flanging drum roll. Now you can take lots of different types of drums for this. Percussion parts work well. Similar kind of snarey rolls to what I did before work very well. And I have something here I was working on before. So if I just drag this in, this is just a very simple, and it's kind of some cool marching style snares with some nice rolls in them. And I'm just going to loop this up. So it's pretty robotic, but I've warped this to the grid, so it's kind of nailing all the kicks and snares right on the grid, just so it sounds good when I layer it on top of all the other stuff. If you have too much swing in these rolls, unless you've got lining up the swing and all the different parts, it's going to sound very cluttered. So if you've got a swing template, stick to it. If not, stay quantized. And I'm going to then go and load a flanger. So I'm going to go modulation, flanger. And what we're going to do is we're going to jack the mix right up to maybe 90. And feedback can come up as well to about quite high, it's maybe 89. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this to 8 bars. Even though we've only got a 4 bar kind of roll here. So it's just going up and up and up. Now when I set it to 4 bars, you'll actually hear it kind of goes up and down. You can hear that in the left speaker, it's kind of going whatever, but you want it to keep rising. So I've set it, even though I'm only working in 1, 2, 3, 4 bars here, I've actually set the flanger to be double the length. So I've just got a constantly rising flanger. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm actually going to map this intensity. I'm going to go intensity and I'm actually going to bring it in. And it kind of gives that like getting higher in pitch and getting a bit more kind of raspy. But that's kind of what I'm looking for here. And I think, again, this time I'm going to use this single band EQ. So in your EQ, I know I've made mine look very different, but you've got the single band EQ. And it's very similar to like having a filter. And so I can just do a kind of a low pass filter. And I think that sounds good there. So I'm on this amount, I can actually just go and select this here, and let's go and rises. Maybe the intensity's too much. Coming here. Cool, layered up together. It's in there and it's not too crazy, but it's just adding to the excitement. So the way to get these transitional rising drops to be more effective is to have lots of different layers of stuff going on. So you can kind of use any sort of drum beat or drum rhythm and just have it nicely in time with your song, and then have kind of the intensity getting higher or lower and filtering in, and then you have yourself a nice flanging effect, which sounds like it's increasing in pitch, which is kind of giving you that rise, the pitch rise, which leads us into our next part. So that's kind of the simple ones out the way, and then we've got a few more complicated ones coming in. The best thing about these ones I'm going to show you now is once you've made this, you can save it away in your Apple loops and you can just call back on it whenever you want, and it's very flexible to create all kinds of different noises. So let's get into this. So I'm going to load a quick sampler, and I'm actually just going to put in a MIDI note here, and we're going to make it the length of the thing. So this is just a sine wave in there at the moment, but let's go and put something in. Let's go into Apple Loops maybe, and let's find... Because my project here is in E flat minor, I've set this as my key signature, so all of these Apple Loops are going to play in that key. That could be cool. Let's drag that in. It's definitely going to be better than the sine wave. And okay, let's get rid of this little drum at the start. I actually just kind of want it to loop. I think this will work weirdly. So I've got a piano chord and I've just created a kind of loop. I don't want that. Maybe a bit of attack here. That's better. What I also did, you might see me quickly do, is put the pitch range to 12, and that's just going to mean when I do a pitch bend, it's going to have a bigger range, and I'll show you that now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go from track automation to region automation. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because region automation will save in the Apple loop with this file. Whereas if you have track automation, it doesn't write it in the Apple loops. So that's very important to remember. Turn region automation on, and then we can go pitch bend. Lots of you, I'm sure, will know this, but in Logic, if you want to get kind of these modulation styles, all this modulation down here, you can actually just do it in this area by going to region automation. So they're essentially the same thing now is where I'm looking. And if I put a pitch bend in here, it'll actually show up. If I go to pitch bend, you can see it's now actually just doing exactly the same thing. Okay, cool. So you've got a nice pitch bend. This extended, if I had this on 1, it'd be a much slower range. Filter cutoff also is very handy. So we're gonna turn this filter on, give it a bit of drive, bit of res, and then we're gonna go and lock in cutoff, and I'm gonna go and just have this kind of increasing over time. I am going to start to put some more effects in here now as well. I'm going to go chorus. Sounds very cool in this situation, so let's get a chorus, and I've got lots of different types of choruses here. Maybe we go, that's sounding pretty cool to me. Okay, so I'm going to go mix chorus. Now, a cool little trick I can show you when you're doing lots of repetitive automation like this is, say I want to do this mix one. I can click mix, and I can go, where did I have a nice pitch bend? I had a nice pitch bend in filter cutoff. And I can hold command, and I can hold command when I click this selection box. And then when I click chorus, it's going to ask me if I want to copy or convert the automation data, and I can copy and convert. So I've basically just copied the filter cutoff automation into chorus. And so now I don't have to draw that automation in. Another very good one to do is distortion. So let's go and get a distortion up. And what's cool to do here, if you come into smart controls and you go delete all patch mappings, and you come here and you go learn drive, and then go here, add mapping, select the lower mapping, learn again, output. And then I'm going to go drive 0 to 40, and I'm going to go output -40 to 0 and invert it. And what this is going to mean, it'll make sense now, is when I move this drive up, you can see that the output's coming down and the drive's going up equally. And when you add distortion, it adds gain, and I'm putting that gain out, so I just have one macro control now for distortion, where I'm not going to get any big increases in gain, but I can get a nice crunchy distortion. And I can map that. So I'm going to come back to this thing, hit drive, click in there, and I can actually go back to filter cutoff, hold command, click drive, copy and convert, and I've done this. I can then potentially get rid of these things, and now I've got a nice drive. Okay, so two good things to do here as well. One is a tremolo, which I'll show you first, and this is doing volume up and down, and you can increase the rate to give you a cool effect, so I can show you here. So something like that. I could try and do it by hand, but I'm actually going to go, I'm going to start at 8, and I might go to say here and draw a little block and draw another little block like this. And I don't know if I want something like this, and let's just create a little bit of a space there. Let's go from 8 to 16, very simple, 16 to 32. You have to kind of massage these points in a little bit. I think they want to be a bit finer in the context of the song. Okay, so sounding cool. So also with tremolo, if you load up another tremolo plugin, whilst that's doing volume and it's going up and down like this, you can also do panning side to the side in this tremolo in Logic. If you offset the phase 180, it looks much more obvious. If I take the smoothing off, you can see this is the left channel, this is the left channel, this is the right channel, and they're kind of going like this in terms of panning, which is kind of like that side to side panning. So you'll hear as I turn up the depth here, kind of goes to side and side of audio. So if we just put a little bit of smoothing in there, and then we can modulate this depth parameter. Cool, so it's going more side to side the further in we get. And it's all about having these effects that are increasing in intensity or in speed or in pitch or in frequency the further along you get the riser. And it doesn't really matter your source material as much when you're, I've just picked a random string sample that's an Apple loop, and as long as it's in the right key of your song, either like a triad in the root key or just a root note of your song, that's a good place to start. Another couple of things I like to do is I like to do some lo-fi, like a bit crushing. And maybe even just 8-bit can be quite cool. And let's just take the clip level down a little bit. And I'm just going to mix in the mix knob of bit crush here. And we'll do the same kind of thing. Oh, that's already in there. So let's go, where was our chorus mix? Come on, click into bit crush, copy and convert, cool. I'm not going to go full. Cool. So that's another good one. And finally, reverb is always a great one to do. And let's just use a generic chroma verb, will be cool. Let's just go a hall maybe. Not too crazy. And I'm just going to bring in the wet here. So let's click on wet. Got that in. Let's go there. It's kind of cutting it off, and I know that's because of something interaction that's happening here. Yes, I was playing with release there, and I knew there was something that was not happening right, and I needed play to end on release, and that means it's going to play through the sample, I think, a little bit. I just want to have it to have a quite smooth. That's a bit better. It was just having a bit of a cut at the end. One other thing I might do here is actually come and get this EQ again, the single band EQ, and just low cut at like 150, just to make sure there's no weird bottom end stuff in there that I don't need. And now I've created this really cool riser, and I can, if I just copy that, I can drag this into my Apple loops and create. That's gonna save this as an Apple loop. And what's great is if I come into my Apple loops and I go and look for this, I have this Riser piano tutorial. And if I drag it out, oh, it didn't like that, did it? Oh, I know why. Because I had that little bit of extra audio, it wasn't a nice equal bar pattern, so let's try that again. I made that mistake of not having a perfect 4-bar. It just has to be like a 2-bar, 1-bar, 4-bar loop to be able to save properly as an Apple loop. And you can see this, it had come in without the beats, it had come in seconds, and when I dragged it in, it was giving me audio. So don't make that mistake. But now you can see I've got this same thing, and actually in the region automation, all of this stuff I used before, it's all still saved in here, as well as all the processing. And what's cool about this is I can now just drag something else. I can go back in. Let's go lush guitar chords. Cool. And let's go and maybe do like this chord, and let's put it in like this maybe. Cool. So you can just load up anything. and kind of control the loop area and pick different parts out and get loads of, even in this one sample alone, I can sample any of these other bits and get lots of cool different variations. Of riser effects. That's the third one. A little bit more complicated there. Okay, so now we're in part 4 and we're in the advanced section now, and you might need a MIDI controller to make this work properly, or having a MIDI controller will definitely help in this stage, but you can go by without. Let's do it. I've still got all of this stuff. If I kind of want the same note with everything still happening, all the effects still happening, what we're going to do is we're going to map all of these 3 to mod wheel, and we're going to go sample start, loop start, and loop end, and then we're going to jack them all up to 100. And what this is going to mean is that our mod wheel, if I create a little loop section at the start, our mod wheel I can now scan through the audio with the mod wheel. And if I make this loop section a little bit tighter, and let's go and hit start again. And I can find cool little sections. Now it might sound better with a little bit of fading, so we'll just put a little bit of fading in there. And this is all the kind of the same style chords, so you're not getting that much variation. But if I put something in, so I use Audio Finder a lot. I've made lots of videos on Audio Finder. It's an amazing sample manager. So I've got this crazy weird sample. It's probably from a movie, or I have no idea. It's just kind of sound effect. But this is absolutely perfect for this type of riser effect. And so what we're going to do is we're going to leave that long. We're pulling in to make a little short loop region, and whoa, so parts of it sounding very crazy. That's cool in there. Yeah, so that's sounding great in this little area here. So to kind of map this in, what we've got to go, make sure on MIDI channel 1, or whatever MIDI channel your modulation wheel is on. For me, my MIDI channel is on 1, and go to mod and just put in a marker. And so even if you don't have a mod wheel, you can still put this in. And then when I press play, and I want to go. Sounding very cool. So any audio works for this, and you can mess with this loop region to kind of give you more, if you put it really tight. I mean, that's sounding awesome. So I'm actually just going to save that away again. You can also, if I just change the start and end point here, I can really change how this is going to interact. So suddenly there's 127 values, and suddenly that's in this tiny range here is now what 127 is. So if I create kind of a rising effect in this little window, you see it's got a much, oh, and that's crazy in there, isn't it? That's pretty cool to me. So I'm now scanning through the audio, and I can choose like a different part of the audio to scan through to give myself very different effects. And you can do this even on a much smaller level. Like if I just have a little hit like this, I can create a little loop in here. Whatever, you can take that as far as you want. That's the effect, and we're using mod wheel here to kind of scan through the audio The moving through the audio and the kind of loop range is giving you lots of variations of risers. Okay, so we're going to do one more, and it's another variation of that same technique. So this time we're going to copy that track again. We're going to drag this down, but we actually don't want that mod in there. So we're going to get rid of the mod, and we're going to go back to the sampler, and we're going to take off sample start and loop start. And so now we're just messing with loop end. Now it's this, a lot of the same things apply, but I think this would be a good area to do it with. And we set a very small loop area. And now by pulling loop end away, we're going to have a longer loop, and then we can shorten the loop length, and that is going to give us this rising effect. So this will make more sense. So I'm starting. You can kind of pull in the loop length to give you, and it sounded very cool, like maybe having a little bit less. Let's go map this in again, and we're going to map it to mod and maybe just draw it in like this. And I think I want a little bit of fade. I could have done that, with a very different sample. Maybe if I go and do something at the end of this, this little area here, and we're just creating the loop at the start, and cool. So you can see it's just instant variations, and if I layer maybe some of these up together, there's so much variation. I've shown you instantly, just messing around with a few parameters, you can get so much out of your samples, and really it doesn't matter what you have. You can drag almost anything in and just have fun with it and get loads of different rises out of it. So there's no need to hit sample packs up ever, really, now that you know all of these really easy techniques in Logic to get wicked rises. Yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed this, and catch me soon on my channel again for lots more Renoise content, lots more Logic content like this coming in hot this year. Peace.